Hello, this is Kiran, my assistant professor from Department of EEE working in St. Martin's Engineering College. Today I am here to explain you about three-phase induction motor. Before we go into the deep discussion about the three-phase induction motor, let us first try to understand what is the induction motor and what are its other names also. Let us start with its introduction. In the introduction of this induction machine, the induction machine starts are also called as asynchronous machine. The word asynchronous means that asynchronous machine is a speed which never runs under the synchronous speed. What is synchronous speed and what is its actual name come from, that we will discuss in the later stages. Let us see the first point of it. It basically of two types. They are single phase induction motors and three-phase induction motors. The single phase induction motors are having the applications only in the domestic places like fridges, refrigerators, ACs, fans and etc. Now whereas the three-phase induction motors comes under the applications of industries. Now why these three-phase induction motors are very popularly used in the industries is because of their more advantages. First advantage that we have for the three-phase induction motor is it is very simple in construction. The constructions that we have for this three-phase induction motor is very simple, and as it consists of very high reliability and very reasonably good power factor. Now when we consider this three-phase induction motor, it is having the reasonable power factor and also it will have a simple construction and the robust construction. The main and important advantage that we have for the three-phase induction motor is it is having self-starting torque. Now this self-starting torque will be used for different applications which are being used in the industries and the factories, and I can say that these three-phase induction motors are around 90% of the amount which is being generated from the industries is taken from the same three-phase induction motor, whereas the single-phase induction motors cannot give out this bulk amount of mechanical energy produced out of it. So what we do for the single-phase induction motors is we will use these for the domestic appliances. Now the three-phase induction motors also used for the industries, as I said you, and single-phase being used for the varieties of the services like the domestic, like washing machines, fans, refrigerators and hair dryers and mixer grinders, etc. Now let us see the construction of the induction motor. The construction of the induction motor consists of basically of two parts, which is stator and rotor. Now the stator part, which is consisting of three main parts, and we also know that the stator part is always stationary part. Now the stationary part mean that there is no rotating part present in the stator, and hence it is called as the stator part or the stator. Now coming to the rotor part consists of the rotating parts which continuously rotates in the rotor positions. Now stator part construction is being similar to the asynchronous machines and the synchronous machines. There is no difference in the stator construction for both synchronous and the asynchronous machines. Now let us go into the deep discussions of the construction of the stator. Now stator, which as I said you, it is a static part, it consists of three main parts. First is the stator core, second is stator winding and third is stator slots. Now first one we will see is stator core. Here you can see the stator core which is being used for the support of the inner parts. Now this stator core is being built using high grade alloy of the steel. This high grade alloy of the steel which will provide you the both losses, that is hysteresis and the eddy current losses. Now this hysteresis and eddy current losses has to be reduced, and now this eddy current losses are being reduced using this laminations. And what are the laminations? Laminations are nothing but making the core of the stator into small slices which are being taken into insulated by varnish material, so that this insulation will help to decrease the eddy currents which are the circulating currents in the stator. Now it will have the hysteresis losses also, and that hysteresis losses can be reduced using this high grade alloy steel. Now this high grade alloy steel will be used for decreasing the hysteresis losses, and also laminations will reduce the eddy current losses. Now next is the second part of the stator, which is stator core. Now here you can see the figure of the stator core which consists of slots in the inner periphery. Now here it is the inner periphery where the slots are being clearly shown in the figure. Now these are the slots, stator core which is a laminated part, and this gives you the slots. And why the slots are being placed? The slots are being placed to carry the stator windings. Now the stator core is being laminated as I said in the stator core, and the windings are being placed in this stator slots. Now these stator slots will carry the windings. Next, the third part is stator windings. What are stator windings and why they are being connected in the or placed in the stator? These stator windings are being placed in the stator core slots, and that are being excited by the three-phase supply. As the machine that we use here is three-phase induction machine, the supply that we have to give for it is three-phase. Now that three-phase supply is being given to the three-phase winding connected in the or placed in the stator core slots. Now these are windings which you can see very clearly on the screen, that the windings are placed in the inside slots of the stator. Now these are the windings which we can connect or place in the inside core of the stator. Now why these windings are being used? These windings are being used to excite the machine or to give the supply to the machine. Now here comes the rotor construction. As the rotor construction is being calculated or being taken into two types. Now first one is squirrel cage type, second is a slip ring type. Now squirrel cage type and slip ring types has its own advantages and being used for their different applications. Now first one is construction of rotor, which consists of two things. First is squirrel cage and the slip ring type. Now squirrel cage induction motors are those motors where the machine or the rotor looks like a cage of the squirrel. Now here is the figure of it. Now when you see this rotor clearly, the rotor consists of rotor bars, where the rotor bars acts as the rotor conductors. These are the rotor conductors, to which the end of the rotor conductors are being taken to the end rings. Now these end rings, what they do, they will short circuit the rotor conductors. Now by short circuiting this rotor conductors, what is happening to the rotor? Rotor will have, there is no possibility to the rotor to connect the external resistance. Now what is happening in this squirrel cage type is speed control of the rotor is not possible. Why? Because the rotor conductors which are placed between the two end rings are being shorted. Now this shorting makes the rotor not to control its own speed. So no external resistance can be added to this rotor bars, so that it can't control its own speed, or we can control the speed of the rotor. Now the position of the rotor conductors. Now this position of the rotor conductors are being placed between the two end rings, not parallel or not perpendicular to the axis. Now this position of the rotor conductors is known as a skew position. Now why this skew position or the inclined position is being used is in order to reduce the noise that is coming out of the rotor. Now this skew position, when you see this, this is not parallel or this is not perpendicular to the axis. How these are being placed? These are being placed in the skew position. And why this skew position is considered? The skew position is being considered in order to reduce the noise, and also as the rotor consists of the slots in the outer periphery and the stator consists the slots in the inner side periphery of the cores. When you place the rotor inside the stator, there is a possibility of locking of the rotor inside the stator. So when you place the rotor conductors exactly parallel or perpendicular to the axis, there is a chance of magnetic locking. That magnetic locking can be avoided when you use the skew position. Right. Now what this reduces, first one is humming or the noise that is coming out of the stator, so rotor, so that the smooth and noise free operation can be done or can be operated by the rotor. And second is it can give uniform torque in the different positions, and third is magnetic locking can be decreased. Next, these are the advantages of the squirrel cage induction motor. What are the advantages? As we have seen, we have only rotor conductors and the end rings. So number of copper that or amount of copper that we have used already in this squirrel cage will be less compared to the slip rings. We will go into the slip rings very clearly. So as the copper used in this squirrel cage is very less, what is happening in the squirrel cage? The losses due to the copper decreases, so that the loss decreases, increases your efficiency. So squirrel cage induction motor has high efficiency compared to the slip ring induction motor, and the construction will be also cheaper because the amount of material that we use for the construction of squirrel cage induction motor is less. But only disadvantage that we have for the squirrel cage induction motor is it is having low starting torque. We can't get high starting torque for the selected squirrel cage induction motor. Next, the second type of rotor is slip ring induction motor, or we also call it as phase wound rotor. Now this phase wound rotor consists of slip rings, hence we call it as slip ring induction motor. Now what the slip rings are doing? The slip rings will make the rotor to connect the external resistance to the rotor. Okay, so external resistance can be added to the slip ring, which is a disadvantage in the case of squirrel cage type. So slip ring type will give us the control of speed of the rotor, and second is starting torque will be increased, which is also a disadvantage that we have seen in the squirrel cage type. So what are the things that we have in this is, we have first one is the slip ring, which is present in the machine, and second is brushes. The brushes which are being absent in the squirrel cage will be being taken into the consideration in the slip ring type of motor. Now let us see the diagram of it. This is the slip ring type, where this is a star connected rotor. For this star connected rotor, what I have done, I have connected 3 different slip rings. See, this is your star connected rotor, R phase, Y phase, B phase, which because it is a 3-phase induction motor. Now rotor is being taken to the 3-phase star connection, and this is being connected to 3 different points. What are these 3 different points? These are 3 different slip rings. Now these 3 different slip rings are connected to the brushes here. What these brushes do, they will collect or supply the current, and to the brushes what I have connected, a resistance. This resistance is called as external star connected rheostat, or the resistance. Now this external resistance, what it will do, it will make the controlling of the speed, or it will be useful to control the speed of the machine. Now when we remember the squirrel cage induction motor, in the squirrel cage induction motor there is no possibility of speed control of the machine, because this connection of resistance to the rotor is not possible, because they are being shorted using the end rings. So when we see the advantages of this, now this advantages of this is, the first thing that I have to say is, it consists of high starting torque. We don't have any slip rings in the case of our external resistance. In the case of squirrel cage, there is no possibility of speed control. So the speed control can be also being easily done using the slip ring induction motor. Now before we go into the next topic, which is the production of RMF, I want to clear you that why this 3-phase induction motor is called as, 3-phase induction motor is being called as a synchronous machine. Now when we have said that stator consists of stator windings, this stator windings will make the supply, or will take the supply from the 3-phase and will produce the magnetic field. Now what is the magnetic field which is produced? Is the magnetic field produced in the stator. Now this magnetic field which is produced in the stator is continuously rotating. Why this continuously rotating is because of the supply that we have given is 3-phase supply. So this 3-phase supply makes a field which is produced in the stator winding rotating. So when this rotating field is being produced in the stator, it should have some speed, right? So this speed we call it as synchronous speed. Synchronous speed. Now what is synchronous speed? The speed of the magnetic field produced in the stator, and as I said you, the stator field is being continuously rotating with a speed ns, and that speed is known as synchronous speed. Now let us discuss why the induction motor is called as asynchronous machine. Now the synchronous speed is very clear to us. Now let us try to understand why this induction motor is asynchronous. Now what is asynchronous means? Which is not running with the speed of synchronous, right? Now our 3-phase induction motor or any single phase induction motor is always called as asynchronous machine, because the speed of the rotor, what is this speed? This is the speed which is being produced in the rotating magnetic field in the stator. Now this is the speed which is the speed of rotor which is rotating inside the induction motor. Now this speed is rotor speed. Now this rotor speed is always less than the synchronous speed in the case of induction motor. N is always less than ns, where n is rotor speed, ns is synchronous speed. Now when this condition is being present in the machine, then the machine is called as asynchronous machine. Now our 3-phase induction motor is an asynchronous motor or asynchronous machine. Okay, now we understood that why this machine is called as asynchronous. Now let us try to understand what happens when n is equal to ns. What is n is equal to ns? When rotor speed is equal to synchronous speed, then the machines are known as synchronous machines or synchronous motors. Now these induction motors comes under asynchronous motors. Okay. Now we understood the construction, which consists of stator and rotor is being taken into two types or considered into two types, squirrel cage and slip ring. Squirrel cage will have less advantages compared to the slip ring induction motor, and we also seen what is synchronous speed and why the machine is called as asynchronous machine. Now let us understand what is this ns depends upon. What is ns? The synchronous speed. And what it is depending upon? Ns is being depending upon, or it is directly proportional to 1 by p, or I can say ns value is depending upon the number of poles in the machine. Okay, if my synchronous speed has to be increased, what I should do? I have to maintain less number of poles. So synchronous speed has to be increased, then I have to decrease the number of poles. So number of poles are being increased, then makes your synchronous speed going on to be decreased. So what is the formula that I can take out of this is synchronous speed is being taken as 120 f by p, whereas f considers as the supply frequency. Whatever supply that we are giving to the stator windings, that consists of some frequency, that frequency is being considered as f. Okay, now let us understand this RMF. What is this RMF? Rotating magnetic field. How it is being produced and what is the value of this rotating magnetic field. Now before we go for this rotating magnetic field, let me show you very clearly how the three-phase supply is given to it, and three-phase supply is given to it, and also the three-phase supply is being producing some flux to it, how it is being taken and how it is being considered. Production of rotating magnetic field, how it is being produced and what is the value of the magnetic field, the magnitude and its direction, let us discuss now. Now production of rotating magnetic field is being produced in the stator of the machine. Now as the stator windings is having this three-phase supply given as R, Y and B, or phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, these three phases should be displaced with 120 degrees of phase shift. We already know it about the polyphase system. Now this R phase, Y phase, B phase, when displaced with 120 degrees of phase shift, these three phases are being drawn in this way, which are being the assumed directions. Okay. Now this phi r is my assumed direction, and second is phi y, and I have maintained a distance or the displacement of 120 degrees between the two phases. Okay. Now phi r and phi y have the 120 degrees of phase shift. Now what is this? This is the supply voltage given to the stator, and because of this supply voltage given to the stator windings, the flux is being produced, and that flux will be also definitely of three phase. So that three phase supply flux is being represented here with the same displacement of 120. So phi r is being taken as 120, phi y, phi b, the value is 120, and again phi b and phi r, it is again 120 degrees of displacement. Now let us try to calculate the resultant flux and what is its value and how the direction of the flux produced is continuously rotating. Now let us see the production of the RMF. Now production of the RMF consists of different cases. Now let me say the cases first. We will take the different values of omega t or theta, we can call. For different theta values or for different omega t values, what I do, I'll calculate the value of phi r, phi y, phi b, and I'll try to get the resultant in the each case. Now first let us try to draw the assumed direction. What were our assumed directions? This was our assumed direction of phi r, this is for phi y, and this is for phi b. Okay, and each is being displaced by how many degrees? 120 degrees. Now let us try to write the mathematical equations for this. First is for phi r, and phi r is being taken as the reference. So what is our value or the equation? Phi m sine omega t, as we are writing it with respect to omega t. So it is sine omega t. Next is phi y, which is phi m sine omega t minus 120. Why minus 120? Because phi r and phi y are being displaced by 120 degrees of phase shift. Similarly, phi b. So phi b is equal to phi m sine omega t minus 240. Why 240 here? Because with respect to phi r it is 120 to phi y, again 120 to phi b. So 120 gives you 240. So phi b is equal to phi m sin omega t minus 240. For these three different equations, we will consider different cases of omega t. Let us go with the first case, which is omega t is equal to 0 degrees, and second as omega t is equal to 60 degrees. Number 3, omega t is equal to 180 degrees. And also if you want, you can go for the different values. Let us see for these three cases. Now let us start with the first one. Case 1. Omega t is equal to 0 degrees. Now for this case, what is happening to the phi r value, phi y value and phi b value? Let us check. Okay, what is phi r? Phi r is phi m sin omega t, and what is our omega t value here is 0. So what I can take it as 0. Similarly, phi y is phi m sin omega t minus 120. So what is my omega t is 0 here. So minus 120 gives you phi m sin of minus 120. So sin of minus 120 gives you what is the value? Minus root 3 by 2 into phi m. Now finally, phi b, phi m sin omega t, which is 0 minus 240. Now minus 240 is plus root 3 by 2 times of phi m. Now I have got the value of phi r, phi y and phi b. Now from these three values, I will try to get the resultant value. Now what is my resultant value? As my phi r value is 0, I shouldn't consider this vector. Next I have to consider these two, which is phi y is a negative vector, phi b is a positive vector. Now let us draw the vectors. First one, as the assumed direction, this is my phi r, this is phi y, this is phi b. Now my values are being considered for phi y and phi b. What is phi y? Phi y is my negative value. So it is being the negative direction. This is positive direction. So this happens the negative direction. So what is the value of minus phi y? It is minus root 3 by 2 times of phi m. And the second consideration was plus b. So this is a plus b. So what is the angle difference between phi r and phi b? It was 120 degrees. Now when you have these two vectors, let us try to draw the resultant of it, which gives you this. So now when you see the resultant vector, the total angle between positive and the negative vectors is 60 degrees, and the angle between resultant and the phi b is 30 degrees. Okay, now I have got phi t, which is resultant. Let us try to write this as phi t. Now phi t vector is being calculated. Now for this phi t vector, I'll try to get the value of phi t. Now for phi t, what I do, I'll draw a perpendicular line to the phi t, which makes an angle of 90 degrees. Now this is my 90 degrees. So from this triangle, like from the triangle of OAB. Okay, let us take this triangle OAB. Triangle OAB. From this triangle, angle BOA is equal to 30 degrees, right? Angle BOA is 30 degrees. Now for this 30 degrees, let us try to calculate the cos value. Now what is cos 30 from this triangle? See this triangle. From this triangle, what is cos 30? Cos 30 is OA value divided by OB. OA by OB. This is my cos 30. Now let us try to calculate what is OA and OB. What is OA? When you see this, OA is being taken as the perpendicular bisector point of phi t. So what your perpendicular bisector will do? It will divide the line into two equal halves. So what is my OA value will be? Phi t by 2. And what is OB? OB is phi b. What is phi b value? Or let us write this as phi b here. And what is cos 30? It is root 3 by 2. Now what is this? Root 3 by 2 is equal to phi t by 2 by what was phi b? Root 3 by 2 times of phi m, which we have calculated in the previous slide. Right? Now from this, I can write phi t as root 3 by 2 multiplied by root 3 by 2 multiplied by 2 into phi m. Now when you calculate this, I get it as 1.5 times of phi m. Now what is 1.5 times of phi m is my phi t value. What is phi t? The resultant flux in the first case. And the resultant flux similarly when we calculate for the next 3 cases, whether it is continuing the same or not, let us check. Now first next case is omega t is equal to 60 degrees. Substitute the values. Phi r is phi m sine 60, which is root 3 by 2, phi y phi m sine 60 minus 120, which is minus root 3 by 2 times of phi m. Next is phi b is phi m sine 60 minus 240, which gives us 180. So the value of it is 0. Now what we do, these two will calculate and we'll continue the same procedure and calculate phi t as 1.5 times of phi m. But what is happening here, the magnitude remains the same, but when you go for the continuation of the vector direction, it shifts from the first direction to the second direction. So what we can conclude here is the resultant production of RMF is such that the RMF is continuously rotating with a speed of synchronous, and also the magnitude is being taken into constant. So from the conclusions, 2 things we have to understand: the RMF continuously rotates with a constant magnitude of 1.5 times of phi m, and the direction of continuation of the speed is being taken into same direction. See, when you take the direction of rotation, as I have taken the direction of rotation in the previous case, in that direction of rotation, what is happening? The assumed direction is taken in this way, like phi r, phi y and phi b, right? Now in this phi r, phi y and phi b, I can take the direction of the production in the reverse direction. So productive value is always in the same as the assumed direction. Now this is about RMF. Let us see some video which is regarding the construction of the value. Here is the construction of the induction motor, which consists of 2 main parts, as I said you. Stator and rotor. Stator consists of these 3 things and it is laminated with the inner slots. Next is rotor, consisting of slots on the outer part and being rotor bars. These are the conducting rods which are being placed in it. It consists of, or it forms the rotor bars. And this is your end rings which will short circuit the rotor. So this is which type of rotor? This is squirrel cage type of rotor. Now this construction of the stator consisting of the windings, stator windings placed inside, and these 4 wires are being connected to the terminal box. Now what I do, I will take this rotor, place in the stator inside, so that the stator will have the rotor inside to it and place it inside, and it starts rotating connected after to the end rings. This is how the construction is made. And what is the production? The production of RMF is continuously rotating with a magnitude of 1.5. That has been also proved by using the parallelogram method or the different things. Now here is your conclusion for the 3-phase production of RMF. What we have concluded, the 3-phase currents are being supplied to the 3-phase balance system, which produces the resultant flux with a constant magnitude of what the value, which is 1.5 of phi m. What is phi m? The maximum flux. And also the resultant flux is being always rotating in nature. As it is rotating continuously, what is happening? It is rotating with a speed of synchronous, and that speed never being taken to the rotor, so it is less than ns. So it is called as asynchronous machine. So three-phase induction motor is also called as asynchronous machine, which we have proved.